Broadcasting live from inside the Cube on the plane of Canadian independent horror movies. This is Tap Tap Concede. Welcome everybody to Tap Tap Concede. My name is Graham. Joining me is Cameron.
Hi.
And Nelson.
Also here.
Yeah, I'm also horrified, Cameron, at the prospect of being inside the Cube of all possible horror movies.
How do we get out of this podcast?
I was trying to think of a quote from the movie.
There's got to be some, yeah.
I drew a
quotable
box,
moments.
you walked a beat.
I haven't seen it in a very long time. It's one of those ones where it's like, boy, that was really well put together. I don't want to see that again.
I think it's one of my favorites, honestly.
I didn't make it through it because I am not great with horror. I was too scared, but I weirdly have seen the ending. But I kind of want to give it another chance sometime because we've talked about it enough.
Fair enough.
Anytime you want, Nelly, I'll watch it with you.
Sick. Okay, I'm taking you up on that.
So we're talking about Cube today, as you may have gathered. Not just Cube. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Arena Decathlon now that that's in the rear window, and I don't know, whatever else pops into our head. We don't have like a firm theme yet. Like there's like a couple sort of initial teases of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty stuff coming out, but like, you know, we're obviously not full into spoiler season yet, so you know we're in the early January slump of of news, which is fine. This slump is brought to you by CardKingdom.com. Check out CardKingdom.com/LRR for all your paper card needs. They'll ship them anywhere in the world, and they're great, and they'll ship really fast too. And you can tell them, loading ready run sent me, button please. They'll give you a little 1-inch button, which I believe is still the reprint of You're Brainstorming Wrong. You're Brainstorming Wrong. It's a contraction. Also, this show and everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. If you're watching the video, you can tell we're still remote this week. Partially this time, it's also partially because of the weather. We had a snow day yesterday. Here in
Cancel
Victoria.
the buses.
Yeah, all the buses got canceled. We got about like 15 centimeters overnight, which for many people will not sound like a big deal, but it's a lot in one night, and especially for a city that like just doesn't get that happening very often.
Yeah, if you don't have snowplows or sanding trucks, and nobody has winter tires, and nobody has experience driving in the snow, just take the day off.
Yeah.
If you get half a foot of snow overnight.
Turns out there's a profound difference between all-season tires and winter tires.
Yes.
Which all season, the term all season, I've recently discovered is a lie, and it does not mean all seasons.
It means they've been seasoned with salt and pepper all around the wheel, right?
Yeah, it means all seasons as long as, you know, it's just damp.
Mm-hmm.
But not all seasons if it snows. So great
snow.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk a bit about the Arena Decathlon. So this was an event that we didn't really talk about much on the show, which maybe we should have. But basically through December, the last couple weeks of December, and I didn't realize how quickly these things were rotating because I didn't get to finish very many of them.
Same here. The first two, I was 2-1 in both or whatever, and then got dropped because it had been 3 days. Yeah,
because it was December 18th to 20th, 21st, 23rd, 24th to 26th, 27th to 29th, and the 30th to the 1st. And it was 10 events. And the way that it worked was they were like 2,000 gold and some number of gems, I guess 400 gems to enter. One of those. And for entering, you got a sleeve, like a card sleeve with one of the Therosian heroes. And it was the sort of the standard. You could do best of ones or best of threes, it varied if they were best of ones or best of threes. If they were best of ones, it was the standard 7 wins or 3 losses. If it was best of threes, it was 5 wins or 2 losses. The awards were like fine. Like the awards were actually like not amazing.
Not great.
If you got 0 to 2 wins, this is in a best of 1 event, 0 or 2 wins, nothing. 3 to 4 wins, a pack. 5 wins, 2 packs. 6 wins, 3 packs. 7 wins or 5 wins in the best of 3. You got 3,000 gold, so like only a extra 1,000 over your buy-in, and a Decathlon token. So the way the Decathlon token worked, or works, I guess still works, is that if you got 3 of them, if you get 3 of them from any of these 10 events, and we'll talk about the events, then you can get into one of the finals events, which are happening
now.
Oh, they're happening today.
Well,
Wait, no.
Today is the sign up. So on the main screen, if you have the token,
they're on the 8th.
You can click in here and you can enter. Oh, sorry, no, you have to enter in tomorrow morning.
So by the time you're hearing this will be done.
Yeah, it'll be done. It's this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, the final events are traditional cube draft, and then the payouts for there are 0 wins, no reward; 1 win, 4 rare wild cards, also not great; 2 wins, 5 unhinged basic lands, and 4 rare wild cards; 3 wins, 3 player draft tokens. There we go. Now we're talking. So you've got to get at least 3 wins to get to some serious payout here. Plus everything below. 4 wins, a gold medal sleeve and everything else. 5 wins, 4 rare wild cards and everything below. 6 wins, a Jace the Mind Sculptor avatar and everything below. And 7 wins, a complete set of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty and everything else. So it's weird. It's like, because the random wild cards are like not particularly enticing to me. So it's like 3 wins, getting 3 draft tokens is very spicy. And then at 7 wins, getting a full set of Neon Dynasty seems like extra bonus spicy. And the rest of the stuff is like,
why do you care about the 7 wins prize?
Because it's it starts your collection towards Neon Dynasty, which for me as a limited player means I'm closer to getting gems for my
yes, right.
For the replacement thing.
Sorry,
but,
I'm
that's
confused why you wanted the cards but not the wild cards. But right, that makes sense.
Well, because the wild cards are like 4 mythic rare wild cards, which is cool, but it's like, okay, that's 4 mythic rare wild cards. This is one of every card in the set.
These prizes seem not great either. Like they're kind of in line with,
except for the draft tokens.
Draft tokens is fine, yeah, for sure. But look how much you had to put in to get those draft tokens. You had to play at least 3, and you probably played 5 or 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
Entries into events that didn't pay out very many prizes. So at least 1,200, and then you won a whole bunch. Say you played 1,200 gems, you won a whole bunch, and now you're getting back something that's worth, what is it, 6,000 gems? Is that right? What's a regular draft price? Anyways, it's not bad. I'm curious
for a normal.
Yeah,
what's a draft token worth?
Yeah, what's a draft token worth? Is it
1,500 gems, right, or 10,000 gold?
So 4,500 gems for your trouble if you manage to get to 3 wins.
Yeah.
But you paid a lot and put a lot of time into that. I don't know. Do you know if these are my favorite basic lands? The John Avon unhinged.
The
basics.
unhinged ones, yeah.
Does 5 mean you get
one of each? So you get all of them, yes.
But does one of each mean you can put as many as you want in your decks?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. So that's the big prize for me. I also like the Jace Avatar token, but if I can just get 2 wins in Arena Draft Cube, best of 3, I will be a stoked little boy.
Yeah, the Jace Avatar is kind of tempting, honestly.
Yeah, the Jace Avatar looks good.
So, what were these formats? Well, the first one was just alchemy. Just a normal round of alchemy, which we talked about already. Decathlon 2 was a Phantom Sealed, using 3 packs each of Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow, which I wish I'd done.
I played one
in retrospect,
and it was hard. I don't know. I wasn't very good at Crimson Vow, and then this is a new format where you have to try to put the pieces together. But you know what it is? It's a teaser of double feature, right?
Yeah.
It turns out it's basically the exact same as 6 packs of double feature, only with no chance of skewing into one set or the other.
Right.
There are some new synergies to watch out for between the cross-pollination of these 2 sets.
Anything you noticed in particular that you can recall?
No, I was very bad at it. I think I went 3-3 and then jumped in another one, and it was 1-0, and then it ended. My
Right.
alchemy, I played like a couple of goofy decks in alchemy maybe, and then I jumped in with dragons, like mono red dragons, which is a piece of the alchemy metagame, and then I was like 2-0 and when it ended.
Oh.
But no, I didn't spot anything in particular that was like, oh, this common from Crimson Vow is good with this common from Midnight Hunt. Sorry.
Okay. Event number 3 was a best of 3 Innistrad Crimson Vow traditional draft, which they delayed by a day for some sort of technical reason. Number 4 was just the new player decks, which I honestly enjoyed. I played this one, and it was like, oh, everything's pretty kind of evenly matched, it feels.
Yeah, that's honestly quite interesting. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I love that format. Like, the format is everyone can pick one of the 5 new player decks, and then you rumble and play matches, and like there are prizes or not. So this Decathlon event was probably my favorite. I used to play before I got in fully, or maybe it wasn't even after I got in. At some point in my career, I used to just play like Magic Online 3.1 on a guest account as like a pastime, like as a thing I would do to just like practice learning rules or just for the hell of it. Because I just found it fun to play those. Like at the time, you could play Magnivore in one of the free new player decks. And so you had like a bad Magnivore deck. Magnivore is this cool old creature that's 2 generic red, so 2 red for a star haste creature that has power and toughness equal to the number of sorcery cards in all graveyards.
Oh, it's a Lurgoyf.
It's a Lurgoyf, yeah. It's like the Lurgoyf other than Tarmogoyf that's probably seen the most constructed play, because there was a not very good but real blue-red deck that would like bounce your lands with Boomerang and Stone Rain you and then just eventually hit you with Magnivore, keeping a remand up or whatever.
Wow.
Neat, right?
Yeah.
I had one of my first ever decks at FNM played this thing in the sideboard along with the Stone Rains and Boomerangs, so that I could take my Dragonstorm deck and transform it for game 2, so that I was less like weak to a big counter spell on turn 4 or whatever.
Amazing.
And instead, I was just playing a different game plan.
That's wild, actually. Look how far Magic has come.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I really liked the new player decks, and I on my Twitter feed was like, play the blue one or play the white one, like they're better or whatever. And then I was just like, oh, there's one that's red-white equipment, and I just like 7-1'd it.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know. They did seem balanced.
Great. Sorry, I was like, right, yes, I'm continuing to talk about what the Decathlon events are. Number 5 was a Zendikar Rising Phantom bot draft. Yeah. Number 6 was Historic Artisan.
I also really liked that one. But the Zendikar Rising bot draft, by this point in the Decathlon, I was like, don't get in that, Nelly. You won't finish it.
Right.
So I just didn't sign up for that one.
The number 7 was actual Historic. I'm trying to remember what the difference between Historic and Historic Artisan is.
Artisan means no rares, no mythics.
Right.
It's pauper.
Thank you. Right.
Right. Historic Artisan. I copied someone's Esper Blink deck, which was good. It was like part of the meta. There were some other good decks, but you could play. That's funny. You can play Soul Herder next to Mana War, Thraben Inspector, maybe Cloud Blazer. But if you play the black cards too, then you can play it next to Ravenous Rats or whichever the Ravenous Rats is that's on Arena. It's an elf or something. And Chupacabra. You can have Murderous Chupacabra coming into play every turn. So that's kind of your end game. Keep your opponent off creatures.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of
hard luck. Yeah, it was fun.
So number 7 was normal Historic. Again, normal now sort of with an asterisk because, of course, now all the alchemy stuff is in Historic. The 8th was Singleton. The 9th was Traditional Standard. So best of 3, just actual factual standard. And then number 10 was Strixhaven School of Mages Phantom Turbo Draft. Turbo Draft being a bot draft with each player receiving an emblem with the text, all spells cost 5 generic less to cast.
This one was very divisive.
I heard that. I didn't actually get a chance to play it. I kind of wish I had.
Yeah.
But I recall
quick.
it being divisive. What was the problem here?
Okay, so Turbo Draft, the the version of, goofy, overpowered, busted Magic format on Arena started with Theros, I believe, and pretty much everyone played black-green because that's just where the commons were that you could cast for cheap. And the format was kind of real. Like, there was some play to it. You tend to be black-green decks, so you're sort of interactive. In Strixhaven, you can only be Prismari. Like, Strixhaven already has a big spells school. Right? They have a bunch of commons that cost like 7 and 8, right? So you have to be Prismari, but then inside of Prismari, there's still sort of a meta game and like a strategy to your draft that I managed to develop. This one I really liked. I jumped in. I played it on stream, but I went 3/3 the first one, and I had been totally undervaluing the Mox. There's like a Manalith card, so it costs 5 less instead of costing 3. It costs 0. So those are better than I thought because I didn't realize how storm the format was. But yeah, your cornerstone of the game usually is like Elemental Masterpiece or Serpentine Curve. Like, you make these elemental tokens, and that's how you actually win. And then you can put them next to First Day of Class. So First Day of Class can give them haste that turn. And then also like the learn cards on the sideboard if you're lucky enough to get Mascot Exhibition.
2 mana Mascot Exhibition?
Yeah, for 3 mana you can go First Day of Class for a red, go get your Mascot Exhibition, then attack for 12 or whatever. And you can do that on turn 1 with your Letters of Acceptance. So the format's like that. There's also just like good looting cards. Introduction to Prophecy is better than it's ever been. Same with Introduction to Annihilation, honestly, because you can target your own spare creature that you don't need anymore. And I would be totally remiss if I didn't include Stormkiln. Is it called Artist? No, Stormkiln Sculptor. Stormkiln Artist.
Yeah.
The dwarf that
makes treasure
every time you cast a spell. So this really allows you to storm off in this format, because a lot of if you're playing a bunch of artifacts, you have a bunch of free, or sorry, not even artifacts, just the colorless spells.
Yeah,
those actually generate mana once you have Stormkiln Artist in play. So then you can get these sort of turn 1 storm count is 10, kill you with a big attack after First Day of Class turns.
So was it divisive because people were losing to lose bullcrap?
It's divisive because even among, like, at every tier of kind of like skill level and enfranchisement of Magic player, there is a strong tendency to feel one way or another about these formats. Like, people have totally fair and valid condemnations of this kind of Magic, where it's like you draft a deck that has a potential of your opponent having no chance to interact with a turn 1 win, because there's no free counterspells, I don't think, even in the archive.
Right.
And then it just turns into a coin flip, basically, of like whether or not you got to go first and got your good hand, and whether your opponent did. So that's a totally fair critique. It's just, even with that said, a lot of people like this kind of Magic. Like, I'm one of these people. I enjoy the draft portion. And then the games, it's like, you just go in, and on average, you're trying to get to 7 wins. Like, there's going to be a couple where you have no chance, and you just get completely steamrolled by your opponent's good deck when they won the die roll, or even if they didn't, but they got a better draw than you. And then you'll have a few games of your own that your opponent had no chance. And then there'll be some real games. Like, every Magic format does that, even if it seems totally crazy, the cards you can include or the plays you can make from the outset. So I just end up liking formats like this. I like the sort of go for a ride Magic.
What do you think of the Decathlon overall?
I was so excited when it was announced, and then I was disappointed to learn that I actually don't play enough Arena to keep on top of it. But I watched some of my favorite streamers and other people in the community posting their like all 10 things. And I was hoping that was what I was going to do. I don't know if you mentioned it, but if you get all 10, one of each of all 10, you actually get invited to the like preliminary qualifier weekend or whatever, which you normally have to be top 1,000 Mythic, I think. I don't know if they've changed it. Which is like an Arena dream that I've chased after before, but haven't gotten to. I've never played in one of those qualifier weekends. So I was like, I could maybe do this even only playing a couple of hours Arena, every few days, which I thought was how much I normally play Arena. It turns out, honestly, play Arena like 4 or 5 hours a week. That's where I'm at, which is still not quite enough to spread out to get all. I didn't even jump in the Zendikar draft.
Right. So if you get if you got 3 unique tokens, you can get into the Decathlon Finals event we mentioned earlier. If you get 6 or 7, you can enter it twice. If you get 8 or 9, you can enter it 3 times. But yes, if you get all 10, then you can not only enter the Decathlon Finals 3 times, but you get entry into the 2022 qualifier weekend event, which I guess, that's pretty cool. So like, I can understand to an extent. So because my only sort of complaint about it, apart from, again, and this is on me, like not realizing how quickly the events were going to finish and like not completing one of the events before it wrapped up, and that's my bad. But is the just sort of the general like quality of the prize payout.
Oh yeah, the queues are not good.
Yeah, and I guess from their perspective, they're like, but the potential high end is very high in theory, right? Because you can get if you get all 10 tokens, then you can get to the qualifier weekend, and then if you do well there, then on and on. And so I when it's a situation where it's like, at a GP, right? If you dirt out of the main event, well, that's it. But here, it's like, well, I lost the Zendikar Rising bot draft. I'll get back in the queue, right? You can just keep jamming it until you get your token, if you have the time and gold and interest.
Yeah.
The options are there that you can just keep running it back over and over again. So I guess I can understand their philosophy on that.
I think, like, with the value and the extra dream chase involved in this event, they still could have made the prizes a little better. Like,
I think so too.
I actually did run a victory lap of that Strixhaven turbo draft. Like, I was having so much fun and I wanted to play more Arena, but I had gotten the token. And then I just looked at the rest of the queues and I was like, nah, I don't want to play Crimson Vow draft, and I don't really want to brew alchemy right now. I'd really just like to play turbo draft again. And then there's this voice in your head that's like, well, but you've already siphoned all the value out of turbo draft that you can, and the queue is so bad. And I was like, it's okay, I'm just gonna give them some more money so I can play that event.
Fair.
And then I won again. I like made it to 7 and got my gems back, but I sort of felt guilty as I'm like probably kicking some people off of having a token. Possibly some dads who don't have enough time to get back in. Sorry, other dads. Yeah, exactly.
I like when they have those events that are the ones that are free, that are just for like cosmetics. Right? When it's like, you can play it as many times as you want, but you have to win, how you have to get some number of wins to get these cosmetics. And I've seen people on the Magic Arena subreddit sort of coordinating to be like, all right, once you get your wins, get back in the queue, and if by turn 2 your opponent looks like they're actually playing the game, then you concede. Right? Just help people get their wins.
I did that a bit with one of the jump starts, I think.
Yeah.
Like there was an event where I had to play 5 or 6. Like, I think it was like maybe first jump start. There was more, it seemed like there were more potential like bad pairings you could end up with. And I had like blue wizards plus elves once, and it took me like 10 tries or whatever to get 2 wins. So then after that happened, I just like stuck around and conceded like 10 or 20 more games just to kind of feel better and like hope that someone else who was going through the same thing like got
put more good
win.
Vibes into the world.
Yeah, I was like, I felt so bad about that. I have to do something. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of love when communities coordinate like that to help people out.
Yeah, I like that too. So, with the Decathlon finals being the Arena Cube, figure we can talk a little bit about the Arena Cube. The Cube is back. It's probably the highest powered Arena Cube that they've done. It's not the Tinkerer's Cube, it's the Arena Cube, but now it's tuned up with stuff from, it's got both the rebalanced cards and the alchemy digital only cards in it. So it's all over the place, power-wise. I've done a little bit. Nelson, you said you've done a little bit. Cameron, have you had an opportunity?
I'm not a man of cubes.
That's fair.
But
that is fair.
Yeah, I would love to hear what you think of it.
Well, I enjoy it more than I enjoy the ones on Magic Online, because like I can't do vintage cube, right? I've just, from watching people do it and from trying to do it myself on stream, it's like I don't have the right mindset for it, right? Like I can do cube drafts. We've done cube drafts on Friday Night Paper Fight. I've done cube drafts in person. I can do those. The Magic Online cubes, you have to go in with a different mindset. You're basically just like assembling a constructed deck. And I don't have the brain for it. This cube, I mean, I've only played it a couple times, but it's been fun at least. Adam and I drafted it on the stream yesterday at time of recording, and we ended up with, our colors were just wide open. We first picked Sword of Body and Mind, because sometimes you just need to cut dogs out of people.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, maybe Mill could be a win condition. And then we ended up picking up a bunch of blue cards, and then white was super, super open. And we ended up with just a ton of blue-white cards at the end, and one of which was Yorion. And
Nice.
we sort of joked with the chat. We were like, we could just run Yorion as a companion and then run 60 cards. Then we looked and we're like,
Don't hate it.
we didn't hate it because
Yeah.
we had 60 really good cards. I mean, like, you know, some number of those were land, obviously, but we had like, I guess it's 36 or so, 37, because we had some modal double face lands. We had just a bunch of cards, and we were like, heck yeah, let's just run a 60 card deck. And boy, that deck was unreal.
Nice.
That's
Yeah.
really cool, honestly.
It was super, super fun. Yeah, somebody in chat asked, they're like, is this a slow cube? And we were like, well, we just milled our opponent out with Ashiok Dream Render, so yes,
Yeah, it is now.
it can be. I think Ashiok was one of our high picks as well. That one was really good. People are sleeping on Aethersphere Harvester. I've played this in
Okay.
Cube before.
Me too.
It's really good. It's 3 mana for a 3/5 flying vehicle. Yes, you got to crew it, but the crew's only 1, and you can give it lifelink twice.
Yeah, it's kind of like Baby Baneslayer.
Yeah, this thing
Oh
kept
wow,
us.
that's interesting.
This thing kept us in games.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like it a lot. My most recent Arena Cube draft deck started out on Demonic Tutor, and then I think maybe my second pick was just Phyrexian Obliterator. I wasn't sure if that was going to happen, but it was like a pack that didn't really inspire me. And I wound up finding like the Burial Rites. I got like a Banishing Light and a Fateful Absence for some utility. And so I don't have a lot of ways to discard, but I have sort of a Black-White Reanimator deck, splashing the Scarab God. Now, the mana pips in this deck are pretty greedy, but one of the cards from Alchemy that I got to pick up is Key to the Archive. And if you haven't seen this card yet, you probably haven't played Alchemy at all. It's just like fairly popular in any kind of greedy deck, and like probably will be I think it'll be a big all-star in Cube. I could be wrong, maybe it's too slow. It does enter tapped, but it taps for 2 mana in any combination of colors, which I believe means it can tap for 2 black, right?
Yep.
That's, I'm always not sure what English words on Magic cards mean because I've judged and learned so many rulings. I now always want to second guess, is that what that means? So yeah, it's just like the best possible mana rock, 4 mana tapping, however you want it to. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing these games.
Yeah, and the spell book, the Key to the Archives spell book is all just like really powerful Mystical Archive stuff.
Stuff from Mystical
And
Archives.
it's in all different colors, but you can then cast it because the key lets you do that.
Yeah. I think half the times I've played it, I just grabbed the Time Warp. Because, 3 out of 15, I don't know, it seems to show me that one a lot. Maybe it just knows that's the one I want.
Yeah. We got to do something really fun with, we had Approach of the Second Sun.
Right.
And we won a game on with Approach because we played Approach, and then on the next turn we played Alrund, God of the Cosmos. So Alrund is at your end step, you name a card type and you reveal the top 2 cards of your library and put all cards of the chosen type into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library.
Mm-hmm.
So it meant that every turn cycle we were drilling 3 cards deep.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So we got back to the Approach very quickly. Alrund's great because you can also just play Alrund on 2 as the bird. Haka, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, I actually have it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Haka, Whispering Raven, 2/3 flyer for 2, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you return it to your hand and scry 2. Or you can just have a 2/3 blocker on turn 2, and sometimes that's really good too.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that seems like a fine way to spend turn 2s and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Also, Sphinx's Revelation is in this cube. Like it's a very powerful cube without being absolutely
Powered cube.
Yeah, without being a powered cube. Exactly. Yeah.
It feels like you're doing significant things.
Should we take one step back and just explain what Cube is in case there's anyone who hasn't discovered it yet?
That's a great idea.
Okay, so if I may,
Please.
Cube started off as box draft or boost or like maybe it was booster box draft, but the idea was, and I think it was somewhere in Canada, I'm not sure, sorry, I'm not going to remember who exactly invented it, but in the 90s, like in the early days of Magic, people discovered draft and then they wanted to do it more. So to just redraft any box of cards that wasn't already in your deck, was the beginnings of Cube. And then from going from just a big pile of cards that people draft, which is still a thing you can totally do if you just want to get better at drafting, you just grab your draft trash and friends and just draft literally any pile of cards, and then you can play the decks and notice like what the important cards in the cube are or what the important cards in the matchup. But anyways, then it started turning into curating that box. And then I think just because it had to be kind of a big box to have enough cards, like if you can put a cube in a long box, usually like an 800 count, but I think the early ones was like they're often putting them in 2 columns or whatever, so it just like started being referred, instead of like people buying 3 packs, which is sort of slender and like fits in your hand, it's like a cigarette case or a cell phone or whatever, versus like rolling up to cube, it's like someone has to have like this big chunk box to put down on the table to draft out of. I think they just called it cube for that reason. And has risen to popularity, especially among veteran Magic players. So what most curations will look like the original first cubes, are just the best cards in Magic. Like when we're talking about the vintage cube over on Magic Online, you can play at the same time, that Graham doesn't love. It's like you're usually
Just
playing...
only because I'm bad at it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe we can it's only the 7th. Maybe we can slip in like a New Year's resolution to take on Cube as a company this year. Maybe Chair will move back to one of the podcasts just for this. Jeremy White loves Cube. I love Cube too, but not as much as Jeremy. Anyways, you've got the Moxes and the rest of the Power 9, the fetch lands, the original duels, like all the banned creatures and Jitte and Packrad and like Sinkhole and Feel Bad cards, like Force of Will be in there, and just all the most rampantly destructive, awful cards that have mistakes that have ever been printed, and they're all in the box together. And then you open up a pack, you're looking at 15 of them, and like sometimes you have to really rack your brain about whether you would rather have, a Library of Alexandria or a Soul Ring, depending on which way you want to go in the cube. And there's a bunch of possibilities, but they all kind of resemble vintage decks, or like decks that were trying to be vintage decks but ran out of gas. And then after people played those for a few years, back in like the early 2000s, people started doing curated cubes of other varieties. So like Pauper is a really common one that people have done because they just wanted to have their own cube and they want to be able to afford it.
Pauper's super fun as a cube.
Pauper's
really,
super fun.
Really fun.
Absolutely. So you can grab like the best cards from constructed Pauper and then put all your other favorite commons, just try to make it so there's commons with some synergies and some plans for the 10 guilds, and then you put that together. There's a bunch of different ways you can go. If you watch our Friday Night Purified streams, you've seen those. And then the other thing is that more popular these days, and you can play these on Magic Online in recent years as well, is like these curated cubes that are just in a wedge or a shard, like the Grixis cube or someone's Bant cube. So those have been coming up. So, and you can kind of do with cube whatever you want. Just like building your own deck, you can build a cube that has certain archetypes and not others. Like you could build a no counterspells cube, or a no creatures with toughness over 3 cube. You can build a cube where it's like all of the creatures have indestructible, but every deck is going to have access to counterspells or whatever. You see what I mean? Like that, you can kind of theory craft it in whatever direction you want. The only ones I've ever put together are like super busted vintage cubes, usually in proxies, and my own homemade, like, these are all my pet cards and I balance the colors cube.
Right.
So that's my very brief cube history of cube synopsis.
Cool. And yeah, you were right. It seems to be have started in the form that we know it anyway in Toronto in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Huh.
So
yeah.
As many people have pointed out, the concept of like, what if we just chuck everything from the draft back in the box and draft it again is not like it. It's not like a completely ridiculous thing that someone had to have been like, I invented this. But
right.
It is from my cursory Googling, it is generally accepted that sort of cube as we know it started in Toronto.
Well, if the Canadians hadn't figured it out, someone else would have, because obviously the idea of just like, let's draft more was there.
It was an idea whose time had come.
Yes.
There are no great men in history.
Everyone loves a good gnosis. What if we made our own set? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. With
blackjack and moxes. Yeah, the arena cube is it's interesting. Like it's been good before, but now so one of the cards that we had, Clone Crafter. We didn't talk about this one when we were talking about the alchemy cards. It's a 1/2 for 1 and a blue human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, conjure a duplicate of a random creature card from your opponent's library into your hand. It perpetually gains. You may cast any mana. You may spend mana as though it was mana of any color to cast a spell.
This has to lead to some alarming drafts or
So-
conjurations.
I drafted after that stream. I drafted on my own last night, and the same colors ended up being open. I wasn't trying to do like, let's just do that again. I kept myself open for a while, and then I was like, I guess I am just in the same colors. And like in pack 2, I was like, no, I am just making the same deck. Okay, sure. So yeah, it's a 60 card Yorion deck again, but they countered my Yorion. I was playing. I had a bunch of creatures with ETB effects. I had like Mana War and I'm trying to remember now. I had some other stuff, and they countered my Yorion, and I was like, oh darn. So the next turn I played Clone Crafter, and I got their eternalized witness.
Timeless Witness or whatever.
Timeless Witness. Thank you.
Mhm.
So then which is the Eternal Witness with Eternalize from Modern Horizons 2.
Mhm.
So I played Timeless Witness on the same turn because it was later in the game. So I played the Clone Crafter, played Timeless Witness, returned Yorion to my hand, then played Yorion, blinking the Timeless Witness and the Clone Crafter. It was a lot of value.
That's some Magic the Gathering right there.
Yeah, that was a very real game of Magic the Gathering.
That kind of play is so cool, like both from the alchemy side, where it's like the sort of play where you steal someone's creature to like get a benefit off of it, but that creature has, unearth, eternalize, whatever, TB effects.
Because it's an actual card, it's not a token.
Yeah, exactly. Because you made a card with Conjure and Perpetually, it's like you get to pull off Yorioning it or bringing it back from your graveyard later, both of which wouldn't be allowed. Like, say you want to flicker your stolen copy of Timeless Witness, normally it's going to go back under its owner's control, and then they get another card. So that kind of plays like off limits, and you have to just weaken your Yorion when you do it. But yeah, it's just gorgeous. The other thing about that sequence you just talked about is that it's a good rubric, I would say, for, I'm not sure if I'm using that right, that word, but it's like it gives you a good snapshot of the power level and ways you should be looking to kind of win the game in Arena Cube. Like, instead of having Moxes, early attacking creatures with cheap mana, but you're gonna stop them from doing something with a counterspell or whatever, some sort of tempo play like that, which you're often incentivized to do in the Vintage Cube. This is more about like having insane late game, getting to the mid game and late game where you can pull off these kinds of plays.
Yeah, the one that we drafted on stream definitely had like Mill as an alternate win con, but that deck and this deck both share the win con of just stop them from killing you until they get sad and leave.
The classic Bant Flicker plan.
Yeah. I did have an amusing situation where I had Ashiok again and Sarah Benevolent.
And
the
Planeswalker? Or
yeah, the
Sarah
Planeswalker.
Zimmer's, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Planeswalker,
So it's minus, she's 2 white, +1 creatures you control with flying get +1/+1 until end of turn. -3 make a Sarah Angel, basically. Make a 4/4 flying vigilance angel token. She comes down with 4 loyalty, and then -6 you get an emblem with, if you control a creature, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. That didn't come up. But I had the 2 Planeswalkers in play and played the Immortal Sun.
Oh, no.
Which, no, it's okay. I knew this was going to happen. So the Immortal Sun does a bunch of different stuff, most of it good, but one of them, it makes you draw an extra card every turn, all your spells are cheaper, all your creatures get +1/+1, and players can't activate Planeswalker abilities. So I activated both their abilities, then played the Immortal Sun. Then on my next turn, I played Yorion, flickered ETB creatures and the Immortal Sun used the Planeswalkers,
Yeah.
and then the Immortal Sun came back into play at the end of turn. And that was neat.
That's stone cold, Graham.
That's some Galaxy Brain.
It was a very, very weird. Yeah, it turns out Cube's great when you're doing well.
Yeah, I mean, it's king of the format that feels awesome as long as you're winning.
Yeah. I'm
Right?
sure it feels terrible if you're on the receiving end of any of this.
Yeah,
Well,
like when your opponent is
Yeah.
doing something ludicrous to you, and you're just like, man, come on.
I mean, the game Adam and I lost on stream, our opponent was like wrath, removal, wrath, kill you. Like it was we were just like, this sucks. This is stupid.
Yeah.
Take my ball and go home.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite experience ever playing Cube was Powered Cube on Mitgo, and I just drafted like this green-black deck that chat told me was bad. And however, the turn one Thoughtseize is strong.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of lower a shipping container of value on top of your opponents.
Yup. That's good stuff. All right. Well, Cube's around for a little while longer. You missed the Decathlon, listener, if you get all your information from us, which is probably a bad idea. But Cube's around for a little longer, so at least there's that. And I mean, Kamigawa is incoming. I don't know what else has been happening in sort of the world of Magic. There was a
New secret lair.
Oh yeah, there is a secret layer this week.
I don't get it.
It's to do with astrology, right?
Yeah,
But I don't understand it.
So I'm guessing that the shapes. Oh, hold on. I'm guessing that the shape of this tree in the swamp has something to do with the shape of the constellation. Is it an art reference?
Well, it is. It's Capricorn, the goat. So it has the goat skeleton in it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's the astrology lands Capricorn, and it's 5 swamps. It's just 5 swamps.
With the
And
same
it's
art.
got celebrate your sign, be it sun, moon, or rising. Let the world know you're a Capricorn. Each drop contains 5 copies of an awesome astrological swamp by Gian D'Angelo. Not your sign. Keep your eyes peeled. We'll be adding a new basic land representing a new sign every month, and they'll be available until the end of 2022.
I honestly kind of wish that this was the very first secret layer, just to really home run, like just drive home the point that these aren't going to be for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't really like hearing about astrology or being around people talking about astrology. Don't buy this.
Yeah.
We don't have to tell you that you're not going to buy this.
Yeah, exactly. It can just be a
Right?
thing that you look at and go like, I guess that's for somebody else.
Yeah, I guess some people like that. Yeah.
But, I'm going to have to go and get like my sun sign and my moon sign and my ascendant. And then I'll just play
Right.
3-color decks forever.
Okay.
So yeah, you can get these in foil or non-foil or in bundles of 5, which is presumably some sort of savings. Because it's $30 or $120 for 5 of them. So okay, yeah, I guess because there's a goat skeleton on it. That's the Capricorn.
Yep.
I guess that's the
Thank you for drawing that logical conclusion for us, Cameron.
Hey, it's what
could
I'm here
not do
for. My unassailable logic, my cool, calculating, unbiased mind. All I do is analyze art and find optimal plays.
There was one other thing which the Wizards announced that they aren't going to be making any changes to alchemy until after an upcoming competitive event.
Right.
I think it's an Arena Open. I mean, it has to be on Arena because it's alchemy. But anyway,
Right. I'm not sure if it's an Arena Open or some sort of championship event that's happening.
maybe it's a
next few weeks.
championship event.
But yeah, every single comment underneath that Twitter thread was just some respected member of the community, like content creator or big player, saying like, "Isn't this the opposite of what you told us? Like 3 weeks in modern times is plenty of time for the format to adapt. Like, can't you just change it now and it'll still be enough time?" It was just like everyone saying the same thing.
Yeah, and I saw actually it was the comment from Surge that I thought was very interesting because Prof was also being like, "Why is this? Why?
Why are you the way that you are?" Yeah,
and as Surge pointed out, it's very common. In fact, I would go so far as to say the standard in competitive esports for tournaments to be run on not the most recent patch.
right. That's true.
Right.
For a variety of reasons, not the least of which is just preparing for it, right? And it's like, yeah, sure, the meta might be able to balance between now and the it's an Arena Open and qualifier weekend.
Okay, it is an open. Right.
And it's like, yeah, I might be able to do that, but also like it's I think what it comes down to is that for Alchemy specifically, they made a point about how we can quickly and frequently tweak and rebalance it to keep it fresh. And then in this case, they're like, we're not doing that because there's a tournament coming up, and that is a cognitive dissonance for some people. I don't really care either way, frankly, but I will say I can understand why you would have that cognitive dissonance, because it's, they did say we're going to update it frequently, but not for this. So I get it.
Yeah, I think if this is an important learning moment for Alchemy, and hopefully the best takeaway is like, if we know that there's going to be constraints like weeks or months when we're unwilling to make changes, then we should try to be like plotting those out ahead of time and making sure that we have a pretty recent change before they come along. Like if 3 weeks isn't enough time, give us a December 27th Alchemy update or whatever, even if it's only been 3 weeks since Alchemy was announced, because we're in the new digital, like Hivemind figures everything out in 24 hours era of Magic. So it's fine to just,
because it's worth noting that today we're recording this on January 7th, and Alchemy has not even been on Arena for a month.
Right. But I bet it had a metagame page on, all of the sites after 2 days or something, right?
Of course,
we've played it a lot already, even though it hasn't been a month. That's just how it goes. The Sturge's comment about other esports playing on different patches is fascinating, because I do think that that's a line that Magic isn't ever going to cross. I was just pondering it for a moment there, but can you imagine if there's an Arena Open in 3 weeks and they did a rebalance today, and then we played with the previous version of Alchemy? I think
that would make people more upset.
No one would show. I think a lot of people wouldn't buy the tickets, right? Magic players are only concerned with the next format, right? Most Magic players are bored with the current format that they're allowed to play and thinking about spoilers and cards that we know are coming up and how they're going to affect the current format. It's like the main, as a shopkeep, as a person who used to work at an LGS a lot, that's like most of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the idea of playing a previous recent iteration of a constructed format is just or watching it, just not any Magic player's cup of tea. Playing a really old format in a flashback event, that has value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's our medium takes on that, I suppose.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have a good segue. That's where my take
I just don't
ends.
have enough. I don't really have. I just don't have enough to weigh in on it. Enough. By enough, I mean enough information or passion to be I'm annoyed about this, or how dare you be annoyed at this. I think it's reasonable to be annoyed about it. I also don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah,
Alchemy's pretty cool. If you haven't tried it at all, I don't know, unless you're doing something else with your wild cards, Alchemy seems like it's not a bad format.
Yeah.
So I've played it a little bit, not a ton, but I've enjoyed it so far.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, on that stirring endorsement of Alchemy, I think we're going to wrap up the show for this week. Unless anyone has anything else I want to throw in there.
I want you to play Cube again this year.
Yeah. All right.
That's it.
All right.
Well, you at home could build your own cube if you wanted by buying cards at cardkingdom.com/LRR.
Mm-hmm.
Putting that /LRR on there is kind of important because it lets them know that we're sending you over there. And we do that because we think they're great. We love working with them. So thanks. Thanks to Card Kingdom, and thanks to you, and thanks to all of you who support us directly at our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. You support not only this show, but everything we do here at Loading Ready Run, and it means the world. So thank you so much. Until next time, I have been Graham, joined by Cameron and Nelson.
I was here.
Paul's been running tech. Heather gets these online. Thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.